Howdy gang, today I'm looking at Remember Me for the PlayStation 3, a sci-fi adventure game that was released by Capcom back in 2013. It was released for the 360, the PS3, and Windows PCs. This is a cyberpunk adventure type of an affair where memories are kind of a commodity. You play an agent that basically has powers in this area. Memory stuff. It's certainly fun, and I'm enjoying the ride, but it's not without its things. The story starts off with you in a cell, and you're reacting to some sort of a memory wipe procedure. In total recall type fashion, you basically escape, you're put on a wanted list, and you're questing to get your memories back. You want to remember your past, and you want to stop the big bad corporation. Basically. There's certainly more to the story than this as you unwind your backstory, but I'm not going to spoil this with specifics. First, this one excels with its setting. It's a gorgeous technological future that's a range of slums and underworlds, and then there are high-tech corporate offices. I find the designs pretty impressive overall. Between the billboards, the fancy colors, the robot butlers that seem to be everywhere, this is visually nice. But it's also quite limited. It's a completely linear experience with pretty much no variation to how you get through a level. You can move out of the main path sometimes, but that's like you only going a few steps to the left, instead of just normally going to the right. Maybe you step around a corner for a second, and maybe you get to find a small upgrade to pick up, but that's about it. You're going to still have to go back to the same path. So this is going to be the opposite of an open world experience. It also limits itself in other ways. You pass all these cool shops everywhere, and you can go into none of them. You don't seem to buy anything in this game. You have no inventory, no items to use. You do find these little upgrades from time to time, but that's kind of all you collect? You don't really interact with the environment in any way except to traverse through it. There are also plenty of alcoves that you just can't walk into, and little obstacles that you should be able to climb, but they don't let you. And the climbing thing is extra weird because the game has significant climbing portions. You're going to climb somewhere on almost every level, but it's only when they want you to, and they're really obvious to tell you which way you need to go when you are climbing. I really think they should have gone in a completely opposite direction with this. Let me climb everything and waste my time. Let me explore this beautiful environment. The way it is now, it makes me feel denied an experience. As far as the fighting goes, it's decent action-adventure fare. There are going to be special names for what they have for the different fighting components. They have names for these, of course. Your powers and your upgrades, they all have specific sci-fi names associated with them, but truthfully, I'm not going to use any of these names in this review because it's a waste. They're confusing and they're unnecessary. All you need to know is that you have powers that affect your fights, and you can access them through a display wheel mechanic when they're recharged and available. Going through them individually, it's going to be a waste too. Just know that they're sufficient for the subject you're playing, and they work just fine. Some of the powers are going to affect certain types of enemies better than others, of course, and you're going to learn the specifics along the way. I suppose in action-adventure regard, it's what you would expect. It totally works. It's not poor in this area, it's just maybe a little bland in terms of configurations. There's a lot of button mashing, and you're always going to be trying to time button combinations. The game is about combinations. The further along a combination you get, the stronger it becomes in some capacity. The one thing you can configure here is the combo button presses that have additional effects. Like, you can swap it in so if you get so far in a combo you get some health, or it speeds up the recharge of your powers. You can't change the button press order, so your button combinations are going to be the same as my button combinations, but you can get different benefits from them along the way. Strangely, this is the only thing you can really adjust in this game. The way your combos benefit you, and that's probably my biggest gripe with this. You can only adjust this one thing. Combo benefits, that's it. You don't even unlock these combos. Just in the middle of a story, there's a spot that suddenly something unlocks. It's not like you're gathering experience and spending points. Things just magically become accessible, and you don't choose what order. This lack of unlocks for your combinations, your combo benefits, or your superpower wheel thing, it gives you no feeling of control or real progression. Things just happen when they happen, that's it. This means you don't get to play the game the way you want to play it. You have to play the game the way the developers are forcing you to play. Yes, every game is how the developers force you, but here you really feel it with the lack of what you can actually adjust. It's like you're just hanging on for the ride and that's it. You're not driving. If you had any sort of progression tree or advancement options to let you unlock the things you want, this would be so much better. But you're totally locked down in this regard. There's also this really confusing thing that they do here early on, like really early. You have this encounter where you enter a person's mind and you basically manipulate their memories and rewrite the memories to allow them to have a different one. It's a unique gameplay that's associated with this section, and you play and rewind a memory and you learn how to exploit it. There's a tutorial on how to do this, so it's important. Now, this gameplay memory mechanic totally works. It's interesting, and so much effort was put into this early on in the game, it's really surprising to me when they proceed to ignore this for the next 40% of the game. This is so strange to me. Up at the very start of the game, it's a major game mechanic. How you manipulate memories. It's an entire style of play, and then I play for another 40% of the game, and I know it's 40% because the save file tells you they ignore this whole concept for that entire period of time. If you show me this at the very front of the game, I'm expecting this mechanic is important, and I will be doing it a lot. Every level. But it takes forever before I get to do this again. It makes it seem unimportant and almost like a throwaway gag. It happened at the beginning, and I was like, oh, this is how the game is going to go. And then I'm halfway through the game, and I'm like, well, where was that mechanic? As a button masher, it's fun enough. The enemy police guys that you fight might be a little uninspired, but they get the job done. I think the climbing stuff is pretty interesting, if not a little limited. And when you start taking damage on screen, the screen will actually start to pixelate, which is actually pretty clever visually. I was kind of impressed when this happened. Oh, minor thing. There's this floating light on the back of everyone's neck. It's your sort of technological connection into your brain, I guess. It's this white and yellow disc. It totally looks like a fried egg. Visually, it's kind of interesting, but it's also a massive lost opportunity. I expect this to change color or somehow evolve as you progress. But it doesn't, because you don't really progress. So, you just get a fried egg. I do like the gameplay, I do enjoy this one, and I think the problem I have overall is, after spending all my time with this game, it seems like if they just did a little more with it, it would have been great. I think if they implemented a few core standard mechanics, like experience, maybe items to utilize, some statistics to level if you had costumes to change, I think those things that are common in other games like this, I think it would have really made this game better. Well, that's all I have today for Remember Me for PlayStation 3. Thanks for stopping by to take a look. Hope you enjoyed the video, and hope to catch you on another one.